Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You hear me?
Yep. Check 1, 2, 3.
We're good.
Supporting our local communities. And we sell and service what a number of different rating services call the most fuel-efficient, dependable, and safe vehicles on the road. Toyota. Toyota of Somerset, South Highway 27 Somerset, and online at toyotaofsomerset.com. At Toyota of Somerset, we're all about you.
Here to come in 17500, here to come in 175 2. I 200 down, got it here to come in a quarter.
Like successful sports programs, putting together a successful auction takes a lot of planning, organization, attention to detail, and teamwork. And you need dedicated and committed people pulling together. At Ford Brothers Auctioneers, we've been successfully selling the country since 1965. Ford Brothers Auctioneers. Give us a call or visit us online at FordBrothersInc.com.
Ford Brothers Auctioneers, we're selling the country.
The 2024 high school football season is upon us, and welcome to Buffalo Wings and Rings for our annual high school football coaches show. Time to get things kicked off. It's been a long summer. It's been a long summer without football, but we are gathered here tonight. Buffalo Wings and Rings on South Highway 27. We got a few specials going on. I know one for sure is 89-cent wings. So I get done doing my duties here, I know where I'll be after this. But hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Bob Boone, alongside Coach Clay Clevenger of the Somerset Briar Jumpers, as we are getting set to kick things off. First of all, Coach, good to see you.
Thank you. It's been a long off season, so long but short.
They are short every year, and I know a lot of coaches, look at it as they're always too long, but never long enough.
Yeah, this time of year, you always, you're cramming so much stuff in, you feel like you wish you had another week or two. But I know the kids don't. They're tired of hitting each other, and they're ready to go out and I think start these games and get fired up and get going.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, you came to Somerset last year. You had been at Danville High School before that, so there was that little connection with two schools that have always rivaled each other. You came in last year, not really sure what you expected. Did things play out the way you had hoped they would?
Yes, from the standpoint of, I felt like we, had a team that worked really hard. They got better day in and day out and week in and week out, and we're playing our best football at the end of the season. I think, doing this as long as I've done it now, that's kind of your goal as a head coach, or my goal as a head coach. We don't talk a whole lot about, the outcomes and the scores. It's really about, how are we going to improve on a daily basis and get better, and then try to be peaking and playing your best football, towards the end of the season. And so felt like we did that. Obviously made a good run in the playoffs, getting a regional championship and be playing football on Thanksgiving. And, I think anytime you're playing football on Thanksgiving weekend, it's been a pretty good year.
Now that you've got a year under your belt as the mentor of this high school high school football team, looking back, what kind of obstacles were you able to overcome that, first of all, maybe some that you expected and maybe something you didn't really expect?
I think obviously experience is a good thing in a lot of situations. So being at a couple of other schools prior to coming to Somerset, I think helped me from the standpoint of maybe being able to anticipate some of the things that you might encounter. But all in all, it was a tough situation, obviously, with Coach Lucas's passing, and Coach Lucas and I were good friends, and so you hated the circumstance that the job came open. But at the same time, you wanted to come in. I wanted to come in. My family wanted to come in, and we just wanted to get to work. Try to normalize for that group last year as much as possible, because they had been through a lot between COVID and then Coach Lucas's sickness for a couple of years. So that group of seniors especially hadn't had a real normal high school football experience, and so try to normalize that as much as we could, and then obviously, start building a foundation for what my vision of the football program is, and build on top of what was already laid, which was very solid from Coach Lucas and the 100 years plus of football tradition. So, take that, build upon that, and start getting things done, kind of the way that I feel like needs to happen in order to make us an annual contender at the state level.
You came in last year. You had a lot of, some unknowns. I know you like to fish. You may not have got to fish as much last year. Were you able to find some time this summer, before getting ready for fall camp? Were you able to get, wet a line now and then?
I'm not a huge. I like to boat, but we don't really fish a lot. Yeah, okay. So we try to spend some time on Lake Cumberland. We do more of the water sports stuff, skiing and surfing and tubing and stuff. So we were doing some of that, and that came to an abrupt halt about mid-July because my two boys, in the matter of about 36 hours, one broken arm and one fractured his clavicle in bike wrecks, separate bike wrecks, 36 hours apart.
Wow.
Two broken bones and a fractured clavicle. So that kind of put an end to the water sports for the summer for us. But no, we're enjoying our time. The people in Somerset have been so great to me and my family, from the administration, all the way down the traditions that we have in the community and around the football program are second to none. And so that's all made my job, so much more enjoyable and so much easier.
Let's take a few minutes to look back at last season. So you finished the season 10-4 overall. You mentioned a trip to the semifinals, a regional championship. Describe, from the beginning, those first couple of meetings, where you're doing off-season workouts. Just kind of give a Cliff Notes version, of what transpired for you and the Briar Jumper football team.
Well, I think one of the staples of what I like to do in our football program are 6 a.m. workouts in the off season, and so I took the job, got about 3 weeks under our belt, just kind of getting to know each other, and then I think about February 1st of that spring, we started some 6 a.m. workouts and really started getting after it in the weight room, and you start seeing who wants to work, who's going to compete, who's going to challenge themselves. The weight room can tell you a whole lot about a kid and a lot about a team. And so, we're able to do that, carried that over into the summer. And it was just, like I said, trying to get better day in and day out. Everybody was learning everything new. I was the only one basically that had the scheme, what I wanted. And so we were teaching assistant coaches, we were teaching the players. Everybody was, had a big learning curve, so to speak. And so, and I think that's what allowed us, that first really 5 or 6 weeks. I looked back at the Campbellsville game, and that was probably the worst defensive performance we had all year. And from then on out, we played really, really good defense. I think the more solid we became defensively, the better offensively we got. And obviously Cam Hughes got on a big run, got kind of in the zone, and we rode him. You don't have that's what people say, well, you got a lot coming back, but, you don't just roll out 2,000-yard rushers.
Exactly.
And, so those are special type of years. But, and he didn't do it by himself. Our offense, we lost 4 senior offensive linemen from last year. So right now, that's probably our biggest work in progress is getting our running game going between who our running back's going to be and getting the linemen, in the places they need to be to make us the successful.
You started off last year, you were 3-2. And that was after that Campbellsville game, and I remember talking to you briefly after that. But then you rattled off 4 straight wins, and I think it was Lincoln County right after Campbellsville. And you told me that you felt like maybe your guys had turned a corner in that Lincoln County game, and you just stated how you defensively you got strong. You put up a pretty good defensive year last year overall, allowing just 17 and a half points a game. But right. You had 2 shutouts in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think, we definitely, we switched some personnel around after the Campbellsville game, and I think that really helped us. And at that point, kind of laid the law down, like, look, this is not acceptable. We were doing some things that weren't the fundamentals of what we were trying to preach, and guys were going to have to, they were either going to have to change their ways or they're going to have to be sitting on the bench. And so, I think it's Bobby Knight that said the biggest motivator in sports is the bench. And so, we were able to kind of get their attention, and we were young. We started, 3 sophomore defensive linemen at the beginning of the year. So, as much as that, I think just game experience and being able to then show them, here's the film and showing and teaching, and we had guys that really bought into learning, and so all that just kept coming together, and it snowballed for us to be able to, like I said, be playing our best football towards the end of the season.
You finished up your regular season play last year with Glasgow, and I know that you came away with a loss in that game, but I also remember you telling me you were looking forward to that game because you felt like it was going to be a challenge that maybe it got almost too easy for those guys, and you wanted them to face a little bit of adversity. That was a really good football team that you guys played down to the wire, one of the better football games that we had seen in high school and maybe in some time. Did you accomplish, though, what you wanted, and you got that toughness, that mental attitude, knowing that, yeah, you lost, but those guys knew at that point there was something special happening?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can learn a lot about yourself after a loss. Obviously you don't go out and try to lose. You're going out doing everything you can to win. But, I've had games that we won and we didn't deserve to win, and you don't learn a lot. And I've had games that maybe you deserve to win, but you don't. But, you can learn something from them. So I think the biggest thing was, Glasgow had some good talent. They had, good speed. And so that helped us, I think, moving on into, and Campbellsville was the same way. Good football teams and playing speed will tell you some of or show you your weaknesses, as much as anything. And so getting those games in and learning from them, obviously helped us, in those first few playoff games. And, and then, we kind of ran into a different beast out in Owensboro.
Indeed you did. Indeed you did. That was a long bus trip home, I'm sure, but, you lost a couple of key components off of that team from last year. They're going to be hard to replace. However, we're going to call the same last name quite often, but talk about Cam Hughes, over 2,000 yards rushing. He had another, 220 or 250 yards through the air. Just an outstanding young man. Average 16 points per game. Tough to replace that kind of a kid. He's not the only kid that you lost off of that offense.
No, you look at what we lost. I think we got eight starters coming back on defense, so we lost 3, but we lost 7 on offense. And so, I mentioned it before, we lost four senior offensive linemen, and, you don't put up big numbers offensively without your offensive linemen really coming along and playing as a cohesive group. And that's really what that bunch did. They weren't the biggest, they weren't the fastest, but they worked really, really hard day in and day out, and they had a hunger to be successful. And so, I think we're missing that right now. I'll be real honest. That we're missing that hunger from those front five guys that we're trying to establish and trying to get.
Being an offensive line guy yourself in your playing days, I mean, I'm sure that's something you're trying to get them to understand how important those guys really are. The old mantra used to be big, dumb linemen, right? I think they're the smartest guys on the football field. And sometimes they're the quietest guys on the football field who just get it done by example. Are you beginning, is that what you're looking for out of this young group you've got this year?
Yeah, I mean, 4 of my 7 assistant coaches are offensive line guys, so I obviously don't think that we're the dumbest. 4 of us, 7 coaches. But anyway, we put a lot on them. There's so much that's involved in the game of football that just the general fan maybe doesn't realize. And every time we break the huddle and we go to the line, the defense can give you a multitude of different looks. You have to know how to block each of those looks. You have to have certain calls in certain situations to tell everybody what's going on. And so, run, pass, right, left, strong, weak. I mean, there's just tons of different variations. And then you add into that, defenses can change and move around. So that's definitely the toughest position, I think, to bring together, as a group, because if you get one guy that maybe goes the wrong way or does the wrong thing up front, it's gonna be exploited, right now with a tackle for a loss or a sack or something like that. So, I liken that to the secondary on the defensive side. Like, it just takes one guy to mess up in the secondary, and you got guys wide open. So those two groups, especially on either side of the ball, I feel like need to be, as cohesive as you can get.
It's a lot more complicated than just what you hear from the stand. Sometimes when you block somebody line, I get it. Let's switch over defensively. You mentioned you've got, did you say 7, 8 starters returning defensively, but you lost a couple of your leading tacklers. But the good news is you got, 9 of your top 11 tacklers from last year's team coming back?
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be the cornerstone, especially early in the season. We need to rely on our defense to be able to go out and be able to shut the door on some teams. It's going to be a work in progress with our offense, getting our offensive line. We got a new offensive coordinator with Coach Tibbs coming in. We're still doing the same stuff and calling the same system. And so he's having to kind of learn, it's not necessarily what he's been accustomed to. He's adapting to what we did last year. So, there's going to be that learning curve early in the season, and I expect that until we get our guys, especially up front, I think working. So defensively, we need to be able to go out and be able to limit teams and try to create some short fields for our offense, and even put some points on the board if need be. But defense is about attitude and effort, and I think these guys are ready to go out, and I know they're tired of practicing against each other. So I hope that they bring that energy, Friday night.
I'm sure they are tired of looking at the same faces across the line of scrimmage. I have one more thing about last season I want to comment on, and we'll move forward and start talking about this year's guys, because that's really what this is about. But on defense or defensively, you did a great job turnover-wise all season long. That makes a big difference. Is that something that it just happenstance? Is it just luck? Or do you actually work and practice, trying to create turnover opportunities anyway?
We don't really talk or stress, punching the ball out or stripping the football, or, obviously in the secondary you're talking about breaking on the ball and doing some things. But, my experience, is that when you got multiple guys getting to the football and getting there with a bad attitude, then good things happen, and so sometimes that's a fumble popping loose. Sometimes, it's getting to that quarterback and rushing him into a throw, and maybe he makes a bad throw, so you get an interception. And so, I think doing your job and doing it as fast and hard as you can, to me, is the best way to be able to produce turnovers. And, so I think it's a byproduct of kids playing really, really hard, and so that's you want to win that turnover margin. I think we stress more ball security and stuff on the offensive side, not turning the ball over, but defensively. There's times I'm like, we need to stress this more. But as soon as my dealings when you start talking about stripping the ball with high school kids, and that's all they get worried about, and they don't finish a tackle. Okay. And so now you give extra yardage because they're trying to pull the ball out instead of finishing a tackle. So we really are trying to finish plays and like I said, get as many guys to the ball as we can. And I think when you do those things, then turnovers can happen.
To quote an old coaching friend of mine, Mike Gatilius, he always said, "Hunt in packs."
That's right.
Hunt in packs and get Levin to the ball in a bad mood. All right, Coach. Let's turn the clock forward a little bit. This Friday night, Perry County Central comes to Clark Field to the Briar Patch. Last year, you made a trip over there, had kind of a funky little ending to it. I made a comment today on a social media post. I says, I don't believe, while it may be mentioned, that's probably not what your focus is because it's a new year, a new day. Talk to us about your prep this week going into Perry Central.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, the first game of the season, you really don't know what to expect sometimes. And so I think, just coming out and trying to keep your composure. Last year, it was actually the second game of the season. We had our first home game, and being a part of that jumper walk for the first time, we didn't handle that well. Like it was an awesome experience, and the fans all rolling in. It was one of the coolest things I've had, being a head coach. But then our guys got really, really high, and then they bottomed out, and we didn't play very good football. I think we kind of shot our emotions in pregame, and so I think this year we got to be able to kind of keep our composure. Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's a adrenaline rush when you see 1,500 or 2,000 fans come marching down the street into your stadium. But we've got a job to do, so we're excited about that part of it. We're not going to talk about last year. We can't change that outcome, so there's not much point in spending time on it. That's kind of what the fans can do. But we're just trying to go out and get better each day. That's always my goal as a coach. How are we going to be better tomorrow? And then let's go out and play Friday night, and let's be better Friday than we were, Thursday in the scrimmage, and just continually to improve. And if you do that, a lot of times that scoreboard kind of takes care of itself.
We are coming to you live from Buffalo Wings and Rings on South Highway 27 in Somerset, just, almost across the street from the Somerset Mall. Come on down. We got some specials going on. I know 89-cent wings. Lots of folks here. I know your jumper fan base, and I see some players wandering around talking with Adam over there. Come join us for Coach's football show here at Buffalo Wings and Rings. Coach, you mentioned the jumper walk. It is, and want to remind folks, this will be our video game of the week, so it will be broadcast. You'll be able to see it here live at Buffalo Wings and Rings, but we'd rather just everybody come on out to Clark Field, to the Briar Patch, and catch it in person, because you're right. First time I ever saw it, I was like, holy cow, that is so cool. And I've got a freshman grandson at Somerset, and I said, are you going to be in the jumper walk? He says, I think so. Yep. And I said, you better be, because it is really something to see.
It is. Like I said, of course, last year you heard about it, and everybody talked about it. You didn't know quite what to expect. And, I think it was kind of crazy. I'll be honest with you. I think Coach Lucas's presence was in the stadium that year. So we were playing Russell County, which was coached by Frog, who's one of his longtime assistants and a longtime Somerset guy. Right as this jumper walk and the fans come in, we have this little micro burst of wind that just comes out, blows the helmet over.
I remember.
And so that kind of, everybody's kind of going crazy. And then, of course, the game ends. It looks like we're going to get beat. I'll be honest with you, we didn't play real well. We get a punt, we get a last-second touchdown, and it was just, looking back on it, it's kind of eerie, just thinking about everything, because I think Coach Lucas's first year was the first year they did the jumper walk from the history that I've learned. And so, the fact that it's still going 16, 17 years later, and it's as big now and it continues to grow, just tells a lot about the Somerset community and how much they love football.
My promise is to make sure I have all of my equipment. I think the last 2 years for the jumper walk, I've had to run to the house and get something. And my house is right, the path of the jumper walk is directly between the field and my house. That's always fun. But all right, so Perry County Central comes up. Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to see from the jumpers on Friday night for this upcoming season. You want to start with offense?
We can, yeah, it's good. I mean, obviously, Josh Bruner will be a kind of a returning 3-4 year starter at quarterback, and that experience is really important, especially with the fact, like I said, that our offensive line is going to be a little bit young and inexperienced. So, having him and his leadership, he knows the offense as well as I do, and he knows where to put guys and get guys in situations, and so just having that calming experience, I think, will go well. And then getting those guys up front moving, and we're going to be leaning on Chris Hughes a lot. Obviously, he had a good year last year as a sophomore. Close to 1,500 yards between his run. Receiving and rushing. Mm-hmm. And, I think, you're going to see him hopefully a little bit everywhere. You might see him, in the backfield. You're going to see him in the slot some. You might see him at wide out. You might see him at quarterback. I think he's a young man that, maybe will move around quite a bit and try to keep defenses guessing where he might be, lining up, because he can be a dynamic player. Obviously, you're not going to get things done with just one guy. So Grayson Gulak and Roby Browning are some running backs that are getting reps, and we hope they're going to come in and both of them. Roby had a good Bardstown scrimmage. Grayson had a good Mercer scrimmage, and it might be a little bit more of a running back by committee. If Chris isn't lining up in the backfield. You got the Lewis brothers, Isaiah and Josh, that are receivers. You got Drew Lawson, a tight end. So those guys are all capable to go out and make plays, along with a few others. And we're going to need to spread the football around and be able to keep defenses in check, as far as to allow them not to key in on certain things.
You mentioned some of these kids that are producing, ready, tell us a little bit about your offensive line, where you lost so much, but you've got some young guys I know that you're excited about, and they're going to get a chance to grow up starting Friday night.
Yeah, Zaysha Jones is our lone returner. He'll just be a sophomore. He's going to be our biggest guy. He was playing really, really, really good football at the end of last year, and suffered a knee injury in the regional championship game, so he didn't get to play in the semis. But he was probably come along and was playing, as well, if not better than anybody up front for us. So expect big things of him. We're going to have to. Last year we were able to platoon our lines, so we didn't have no offensive or defensive lines went both ways, and that's how I would rather it be. But this year we're going to have to rely on some guys, especially early in the year, to probably go both ways. Jacob Bartley, you'll see play on both sides of the ball. Zach Koger, you're going to see play offensive line and turn around and play linebacker. You're going to see Zach Carter do both. You're going to see Cam Alsop do both. So we hope to be able to, if we're not asking them to go both ways the entire game, but it might be that they can get a series off here, a series off there on either side of the ball. So they're talented guys. They played some football. They just haven't necessarily played as much on the offensive front. And then we got Reggie Smith, who's a senior that I hope can come out, and then we got and give us some good reps on the offensive front. And then we got some young guys that we're just trying to see, are they going to, when the lights come on, how are they going to respond?
Indeed. Also, conditioning, does it change your philosophy in conditioning these guys, as far as knowing they might have to get a few more snaps on the other side of the ball?
Yeah, you kind of go back and forth. I mean, it's just hard to replicate game conditioning. It just is. I mean, you can line up and run, but it's just – it's just hard. I mean, so obviously we condition, but we try to practice as fast as we can. We try to get as many reps as we can in practice, so that if you're going to run 120 or 140 plays in a game, you're getting 200 reps in practice along with a little extra conditioning. But it's still, the intensity of the game, it's just hard to replicate. So you see it a lot. I mean, teams, you just play your way into shape. We're not necessarily relying on that, but I think there's a certain truth to that. Like, two things happen in football as the season goes on. You've played more games, so you play, and the temperature gets cooler. And those first couple of games sometimes can be hot, and it's just, I don't care how much you ran. You put helmet, shoulder pads, and you go out there and you start pushing and playing with a lot of energy against somebody, and it's just hard to replicate that.
Switch sides, look at the defensive side. We talked about how good your squad looked, especially got into the playoffs, pitched a couple of shutouts. You had some really outstanding defenders that shined, especially young guys. I was really impressed with some of those guys, and I'm excited, and I'm sure you've got to be excited about watching these guys come back for another season.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Koger, who I talked about as an offensive lineman, it kind of anchored us in the middle. And, he was one of the big personnel moves that we made after the Campbellsville game. We took him from nose guard, moved him back to linebacker. Yep. And I think at that point it really helped us a lot and solidified two positions and got our best 11 on the field at that point. So, he's back, obviously. Our front five, because we're a 3-4 team, so counting our outside linebackers, all five of those guys are back. So you got Grayson Gulak, who played good football off the edge for us, and Austin Lawless at our outside linebackers. Austin had a really good year last year as a freshman. And then our three guys that'll be juniors, Cam Alsop, who's our nose guard, that really – in the playoffs, when we started playing best is because he was playing his best football at that time. Zach Carter, who's just gotten bigger and stronger, and then Jacob Bartley at a defensive end that we talked about before. So there's 6 out of 7 returning starters in that box, and so we need to be able to hopefully make it hard for teams to run the football on us and get them into passing situations. With that said, that's where our most we got a couple of sophomores back there, and we're a little bit green in the secondary. So, you force them into passing, and that's where we're going to probably need to get the experience, the fastest.
Force them into passing a little sooner than maybe they'd like to, or getting rid of the ball quicker, because you got some great pressure up front between Lawless and Koger. You're talking about 22 TFLs. I think Lawless had 6 sacks last season. That's a pretty good number. If you get pressure, that makes the job a tad easier on those guys on the back end of defense. Am I right in that?
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, pass rush, that's why those guys in the NFL get paid so much money, and that's why there's such an emphasis, at the college level about the D-line. So if you can, really put pressure on people and really get after them up front, and make that quarterback a little bit uncomfortable. These quarterbacks all summer have been sitting back in 7-on-7s with no pass rush and, watching their ball and doing all that stuff. So, the sooner that you can make him be looking at the moon as the ball's getting released, it makes it a little bit different for those guys. So, hopefully our guys can get after it and attack up front.
I chuckle a little bit at 7-on-7 because I remember coaching and traveling, years ago with teams of watching and say, we beat Danville in 7-on-7. I said, great, they'll throw 7 times all year. But, it is a different thing. But it is competition. You get to see a little bit of maybe what your kids are made of. But you're right. When you add a pass rush, you put a bunch of big, strong, fast guys out there, it changes the dimensions just a little bit.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, not to knock 7, we get a lot of good work in it, and it helps your passing game. But defensive backs are the ones that love to see the pass rush come in, because, this guy took 4.5 seconds and throws the ball way downfield. And, we're watching film of 7-on-7s this summer, and I'm like, who's fired if this happens? And they're all looking around. I'm like, the D-line coach, because if they get that long to pass, then we got to do something different. So, it's, it's time to go out, and I think our kids are excited about the challenges of the season, and that starts Friday night for us.
Special teams, talk about that a little bit. You had excellent special teams last year. You did lose your punter, but you got your kickers back.
Yeah, Anderson and Ethan Rubel come back, and they handled the place kicking. Got a freshman, and Julian Carroll, who's going to be doing the punting, and he's also, he's got a lot of leg talent, and I think, you're going to see him do some kickoffs and maybe some field goals as well. So, 3 kickers, I think that's a luxury a lot of schools don't have. And the biggest thing, for instance, I think we played pretty good defense in our scrimmage against Mercer, but we snapped the ball over the punter's head, and they got the ball on the 10 going in. And so, we don't need any of those types of mistakes early in the season. And I think those are the little things that probably make me more nervous than anything is the unknowns or, the stuff that, how many live reps have we gotten? We haven't got any live reps in kickoff or kickoff return, or, it's hard to get live reps in punt return. So just certain situations like that, it's just with a smaller roster and smaller schools, you don't get as many live looks, until you get some of that experience under your belt from games, it's a little bit nerve-wracking.
You talk about when we special teams, we first thought always goes to kickers, but there are so many other components. You mentioned the snappers positions, and then in the return game, it's such a valuable. A lot of coaches will refer to the return game as those hidden yardage. You may look stats-wise and maybe you only see 110 yards rushing game, but it's because you had great field position and stuff. That can be a difference maker in the course of a ball game, extended throughout the course of the season.
Definitely. I mean, I think that that's the hidden yardage, short fields, being able to keep defenses or offenses backed up, forcing 3 and outs. I think all that kind of stuff leads to, successful football. We didn't live field a punt. We got a little nervous about when people got around coming up and fair catching, and so, but when you're playing on turf about every game like we do now, I mean, the ball hits the ground, there's a good chance it's going to roll 10 or 15 yards. And so being able to handle those situations and get better throughout the year with those situations, is always important.
Let's talk a little bit about your schedule. We mentioned Perry County Central, and then you've got the rematch over at Russell County. Schedule's duplicate of what you had last year. Before you look at some of these games, what's your philosophy when you try to build your schedule for the upcoming season? And I know you work on 2-year contracts, so not a lot of thinking went into this year, right?
Right. I mean, and to be honest with you, some of this schedule was made up when I had taken the job. We changed a few things on it. So you're making the schedule really not kind of cold, because I made it probably in the first 4 to 6 weeks I was even on the job. So hadn't coached the practice, only coached some workouts. So, I think that the art of scheduling is important, especially at small schools. But it's gotten a lot more complicated, if you will, with 6 classifications now, because you got smaller districts. So now you only have 3 guaranteed games. You got to go out and find 7. And then on top of that, now with the RPI is very important when it comes to that 3rd, 4th round games and where you're going to be playing. And so, I think I used to lean towards, playing really tough schedules. And now, not that we're not playing as tough a schedule, I think you want to play competitive schedules. You want to make sure that you're playing games that you feel like giving your kids the biggest chance to succeed. And so, and then you don't ever know how these other cycles at the other schools are going to come in. So it's just kind of it can be a little bit of a crapshoot, to be honest with you. But it's something that, that you spend some time. So now we'll have a whole new schedule basically the following year, and that'll be a 2-year cycle. And so there'll be a lot of, I don't know if we have a single game or a single team that's a repeat, so it'll be 10 new in 2 years. So if you don't like this schedule, just hang around.
Stick around.
It's like the weather in Kentucky. Just hang around for a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned the RPI real quick, because that's just about got your squad after the Glasgow game, because what was a really good Glasgow team, highly rated, you probably lost an extra point or two that maybe you didn't expect in the RPI, and it just about cost you an extra home game in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, when they rolled it out, I can remember being in some of the original meetings when they were rolling the RPI out from the KHSAA, and they were like, strength of schedule is going to factor in and stuff. And so I think a lot of people were like, okay, that's fine. A loss to a good team won't make as big a hit, and that's really not how the RPI works. A loss is a loss. It doesn't matter if you lose to a team that's 1-9 or a team that's 10-0. A loss is a loss, and it's going to count against you. And so, like you said, I mean, we were sitting there, felt pretty comfortable with where we were in that second on the east side, and then when we lost to Glasgow, didn't realize it was going to drop us as much as we did, and I think we ended up, with like a 1/10 of a point lead over Shelby Valley. And that could have been a big difference. You go from hosting the round 3 to going to a 3-hour bus ride into the mountains for round 3. Those things matter.
They do indeed. Coach, you mentioned you got a new offensive coordinator, and Coach Tibbs. Talk about him and the rest of your coaching staff helping you out this year.
Yeah, Coach Tibbs is coming in from Lexington Dunbar, and so his wife is actually a Somerset alum, and in-laws live here. So I think hopefully it's been a good move for them. So I'm excited about that. And like I said, I didn't really want our kids to have to learn a third system in 3 years, because they had to learn a new system last year with me coming in. So I really wasn't interested in making wholesale changes. And he kind of agreed to that and is adapting. And so he's having to learn, flip terminology in his head from how he might have called things in the past or changed some things in general. So appreciate him doing that. And, I think that's going to be something that you're going to see. Our offense is going to improve week in and week out. Also you got Castle Hatcher, who coaches wide receivers, outside linebackers, and also coaching our middle school team. And they're off to a great start at the middle school level. They're 2-0 right now. Had 2 big games against 2 good teams. But he's done a great job, not only for me on my staff, but then implementing what we want at the middle school level. And so you go watch our 8th grade team play, and it's going to look very similar to what we're going to see on Friday night. And the terminology is all the same, offensively and defensively. So he's worked his tail off to make that happen, and it's doing good. He's obviously a Somerset alum. You got Kagan Skidmore, who's a line coach that played at Eastern, who's a Somerset alum, who, all-state lineman at Somerset and was a 4-year starter at Eastern Kentucky. So having that experience is great. Ty Tevis, who's another Somerset alum, who was a great player at Somerset, went on to Lindsey Wilson, won the national championship there as a secondary guy, coaches our secondary and running backs. Coach George Hatcher, who's Castle's dad, who's been around the game for a long time, helps with our O-line. You got Jared West, who helps with our inside-outside linebackers, and then Jason Rubel, who helps with our special teams and our kicking game. And so you got those guys, and then we got some support guys, Trevor Redner and Connor McJunkin, who do a lot of stuff, off the field, help on Friday nights and do things. So appreciate their help. And it takes a lot of people. You got Nick Alsop, who comes in and helps fly our drone on a daily basis and helps film, and so appreciate those guys and the amount of work and effort that they put in on a day in and day out basis.
Not just support staff with the team, but you've had great fan support, booster support, in your first year, and that's, of course, another Somerset tradition. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, we just talk about the jumper walk, and every time I turn around, there's a different tradition for this and for that, and but I think it's awesome. I think it's part of the allure of small town high school football. Like that's what I want as a coach, as far as the tradition and the expectations and the fanfare and all that. That's what makes it fun, and so we appreciate all that and all the support that you get. I've got a great administration, by far the best administration I've worked for, from Mr. Lively to the superintendent, to Mr. Wesley, Mr. Burke at the AD. They're great to work for. They allow me to do my job, but they also give me what it takes, to help make me successful. And you don't get that everywhere. And so the support that we get from those guys and our school board, they want everything at Somerset to be done right, and they want it to be successful. And that aligns with what I want as being a head coach in the program and what I want from my family being a part of a school system.
Got about 90 seconds. Anything else? Anybody else you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, we've got some game sponsors this year, some corporate sponsors that's come along. So we want to appreciate Alton Blakely, New Life, Midland Farms, Jeremy Bartley Law Firm, and Candino's Towing. Those companies, along with a lot of other ones that are doing some banner support, but those 5 in general are going to be game sponsors for us this year, and we really appreciate them coming alongside. I mean, it takes a lot to make a football program run. It's a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and so appreciate those corporate sponsors coming along and being a part of it.
Thursday night, kickoff at 7:30.
Friday night.
Yeah, I got Thursday.
I didn't want anybody showing up Thursday night.
Yeah, don't be there Thursday. You might get run out. They're trying to put the final bow on the package there. But, yeah, Friday night, 7:30, Perry County Central. It'll be the jumper walk to get the festivities started. Come out there. If you can't make it, you'll see the game live here on Lake Cumberland Sports. We appreciate Buffalo Wings and Rings. They'll have the game live here as well. And if you're out and about, come on down. I think we're getting set for Mike Kerr and Coach Burns with Pulaski County. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yep.
I know that you're a busy man, and if I don't talk to you before, I'll see you Friday night.
All right, sounds good. I'm ready to go tear up some of these 89-cent wings.
I'm with you. All right, thank you. We're going to sign off and bring in the next crew. This is Lake Cumberland Sports High School Football Coaches Show from Buffalo Wings and Rings.
Toyota of Somerset, we're known for great service before and after the sale, and so much more. Since 1988, Toyota of Somerset has been supporting our local communities. And we sell and service what a number of different reading services call the most fuel-efficient, dependable, and safe vehicles on the road. Toyota. Toyota of Somerset, South Highway 27 Somerset, and online at toyotaofsomerset.com. At Toyota of Somerset, we're all about you.
Here to come in 17500, here to come in 175.2. I 200 down, got it here to come in a quarter.
Like successful sports programs, putting together a successful auction takes a lot of planning, organization, attention to detail, and teamwork. And you need dedicated and committed people pulling together. At Ford Brothers Auctioneers, we've been successfully selling the country since 1965. Ford Brothers Auctioneers. Give us a call or visit us online at FordBrothersInc.com.
Ford Brothers Auctioneers, we're selling the country.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to Buffalo Wings and Rings. You're in the middle of the Coaches Show, and I have got the best, saved the best for second coach. This is Coach Travis Burns, the new coach of the Pulaski County Maroons, and Coach, you and I, we're old friends. We've met twice now, I think. Great to see you.
Good. I'm glad to be here.
This has been a tradition, and we've got you lined up now, and we're going to throw everything at you. What I'd love to do is just take a start and kind of introduce yourself. I know the Pulaski fans already know you and all about you and all that, but we'll have a lot of other people from a lot of other schools and stuff taking interest. Tell them who you are and about your family, and then we'll get to work.
Yeah, so, my name's Travis Burns. I'm, from London, Kentucky. That's where I grew up, and then I went to EKU, and I coached 1 year at GRC kind of in college, and then I was, blessed to go, and I coached at Bull County for 8 years, and in those 8 years, I had a lot of different roles. The biggest role I had there was the assistant head coach and defense coordinator. But in those 8 years, we went to the state championship 6 times, and we won 5 of them. So I love Bull County. They were good to me. My wife still coaches there. She coaches girls soccer there. And then now we're here. So
Well, I think the Pulaski fans are quite glad that you moved a little south. You get ready for this year, and you inherit a schedule. So, it is what it is going in. And you're going to open up Friday night, a game that we'll have here live on Lake Cumberland Sports. But we'll just take a second. Your coaching staff, if somebody picks up a piece of paper with a list of your coaches, they're going to recognize basically every name on it because they have ties to Pulaski County football.
yeah, going into it, I wanted people that care about Pulaski County football, that were familiar with the legacy of what that means to be a Maroon. And like you said, I think there's only two coaches that I brought in that are outside of Pulaski County.
Well, again, it's good to know there's continuity, and we are glad to have you. The background, you and I have talked about it, you're a defensive coach.
Yes, yeah.
So are you said, but we're all frustrated offensive coaches, all of us defensive coaches. So where you want to start this train? We're going to start on offense, we're going to start on defense.
We'll do like we do in the game. We'll start on offense.
We'll start on offense.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
I want to take the ball if we win the coin toss, or we'll take it.
You have a team that I'm sure now with what you had over the winter plus the spring, conditioning and workouts, and then summer getting ready, and now you're getting ready for opening game. You've got a quarterback who comes back off of throwing for almost 2,200 yards last year, and Zach Anderson is a junior, but he played basically every snap last year as a sophomore. So you start out there, and then you got a running back who rushed for almost 1,500 yards last year as a freshman in Brock, and you got a 1,000-yard receiver in Denmeyer, and that's just touching it. But you've got some weapons on offense.
Yeah, last year they were very young, like you said. Zach is just a junior, Cason's just a sophomore, Harris is going into his senior season, and all of them have had an amazing off season. I couldn't speak, how the off season went. It was great. The kids are buying into a new system. I wanted to make sure that going into the off season, like, I'm one person. I can learn a new system. So Josh Roberts calls. He's doing our offense, and he's been at Pulaski County a long time. He was on the other side of the ball. Now he's on offense. And so we kept a lot of the same terminology and same things, but it's a different philosophy. And if you were at the scrimmage against Bell County, I thought we were very balanced. We did a good job of running the football, and then we took our shots when they were there.
Well, I think that, again, you've got the luxury, I guess we'll call it a luxury, at least you have a receiver who can get over the top. I would say you have, in Godby, that I've seen in the past, a possession receiver sort of that you can use. I know you've got others. And then, you got a guy who packed it last year almost 200 times. So you had a running back who carried it quite a bit. And, his upside is just, my humble opinion, his upside's really there, Brock.
Yeah, I have to catch myself sometimes and say, he's just a sophomore.
And he looks like a senior.
He does.
Physically.
He had an amazing offseason. I think the last max he did on Power Clean, it was 285 as a sophomore, which is amazing.
That's pretty fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then, Harris, what people don't realize, Denmeyer's a 300-pound power cleaner.
He may be, and I've been around this program for way too many years, he may be one of the top 10 athlete football players, whichever position you want to stick him in, that I've seen come through this program.
Yeah, and just like you said, we've got a lot of, not what I call position players. We have football players.
Right.
And they can move around and do he talked about Boone Godby. Boone Godby is, he starts corner for us, but he also goes in and in our speed packages and plays slot receiver. So we have a lot of things that we can do.
And again, we're not going to short the big guys, because I have had a chance to speak to some of them in there a minute ago. They've been busy over the winter. I saw some gentlemen that are big guys to begin with, but they don't look the weight they've put on has been put on in the right way, I guess I will say. They look ready to play.
Yeah, my kind of off-season philosophy, even when I did it at Bull County, it's not about just gaining weight.
Right.
It's about gaining good weight, lean muscle mass, because if you can't move, you can't play. The game today is all about space and getting athletes in space. And that was kind of my whole goal coming into this offseason was we're going to get, not necessarily lighter, but leaner. We were going to get quicker, faster, a little bit more agile. And like you said, the big boys up front look just like what I want them to. Right? They're lean, they're big, but they're lean muscle mass. And I mean, we have a big old offensive line.
You do.
I typically don't like saying it, but they are huge.
Well, now Hull last year, we said it about a minute ago about Brock. He did not look like a freshman. Mm-hmm. And then I saw him in there just a minute ago, and he's changed. Let's just say that he don't look like a sophomore now. He looks like a grown man.
Well, he's really what people don't understand about Brady is we lifted in the morning. He would lift with us in the morning and then go do CrossFit in that evening. So he was lifting twice a day. He really transformed his body, and I think the product shows. He got two offers in the off season, and University of Kentucky and Miami of Ohio, and so I really think he's got just tremendous upside. And he's another one that I got to say, he's just a sophomore. He's still got a lot of growing to do.
What it was one of the old famous old coaches. The best thing about sophomores, they come back as juniors. You don't lose them. Again, on that front wall, though, I think you've got Hall back at center, is that right?
Yes.
And, of course, you've got another big freshman in Blevins who's come in, and he passes the big test.
Oh, yeah. And like you said, we have a sophomore, a freshman, and 3 senior that start up front for us.
That's a pretty good combination.
And you talk about Blevins. Well, Blevins, I think in the Bell County scrimmage, had 6 pancake blocks as a freshman coming in. So he broke the school record for squat in the off season as an 8th grader, incoming freshman, and he is. But people don't realize, he goes to practice and he'll practice all day, and then his pap has him out there chasing horses or throwing hay bales or whatever else it is.
Well, he's got, he comes out of some stock that people who follow Pulaski football will remember Cole Drawn, and that's family, and the same thing held true for Cole Drawn. When I was around him, nobody outworked him.
Well, I had known Connor. And the funny story, Cole's his uncle, but
yes,
my wife coached his cousin in their club soccer team. So I had known Connor and his family before I ever took this job.
Well, don't leave out. You've got big. What's Brown go? Close to 300 now.
Bryson, he is actually Bryson Brown has leaned up. He's about 250.
Good,
but he. Another kid, he's fast and quick. He plays our 3 technique for us. And he is, so good at just moving. And he can move and go. And then our right tackle, if you're familiar with Pulaski football, he played center last year.
Yes, he did.
Is Camden Denham.
Absolutely.
And Camden transformed his body. And, we have high expectations for the offensive line just because how big they are and, how many of them played varsity minutes. So we have high expectations.
I don't know what we're hearing in our heads. There's a motorcycle that's joined us. If you just joined us, this is Lake Cumberland Sports Look at Football. We're at Buffalo Wings and Rings, and I'm with Coach Burns of the Pulaski County Maroons, and we're kicking it around and got interrupted by a motorcycle. We're indoors, guys. Anyway, the offensive front, whether people want to admit it or not, if you can stay healthy up front with the bodies that you've got, it allows you to run whatever you want to run on offense.
Yeah, you have to, and I learned this, early in coaching, that you got to be able to run the football. I agree. In November, when you're in the playoffs, it's going to be cold and wet and rainy, and if you can't run the football, then it's going to be a long night for you.
Yeah, this Friday night, I think the temperature's supposed to go back crazy. You open up Friday night at 5:45 in Corbin at the newly renovated Corbin Field.
It's nice.
But you open against Beechwood. Anybody from around here who doesn't know who Beechwood is has never followed Somerset football, because Beechwood and Somerset have seen a lot of each other over the years. And I made the mistake. I didn't follow Beechwood last year. Really didn't have a reason to be following them. And I made the mistake, I think, when I spoke to you first time, and I said something about, well, they'll pound it out against you. You said, no, not anymore. I said, they're going to throw it. They have a really good team. Most of the kids from their state semifinal run last year come back. And they have a lot of speed. They have a great quarterback. He's a top 5 quarterback. They like to throw the ball around. Like you said, Beechwood is a perennial powerhouse. They're in the state championship run every year. Yep.
We'll play whoever. Right?
You're going to show up Friday night.
We'll show up and play. We'll play in the parking lot. It don't matter. We're going to play.
Well, you've got, again, a test there, without a doubt. We'll go through the schedule for just a second, and then we'll jump over and talk about your defense a little bit and other things. But if you take the schedule, that one is a tough start, and it's going to be your first game as a head coach. And hopefully Friday night at whatever time it is after the game's over, that I can look at you and say, Coach, that's one. And, again, but you got Beechwood to start with, which is, I guess you would say, a pretty tall order. And maybe the Danville game is not going to be what it might have been in the past. But Danville, they'll show up, but they're struggling. But then you get GRC, and that's a pretty good program. I saw them last year.
I think, last year, watching the film and kind of learning the team as I did, I thought that was a pivotal moment in the year last year.
It was.
And, you see a very different football team after that.
And then you get to go back to Corbin. You're going to play Corbin for real, so you couldn't get enough of the newly renovated Campbell Field. You're going to go twice.
I'm very familiar with Corbin.
Yes.
When I was at South Laurel as a player, we played them every year, and they had our number. We never beat them. But then at Boyle County, we played them in 17 in the state championship.
You broke their heart a time or two now.
Yeah, they beat us in 18, and then we beat them in the state championship state semifinal.
Yep. But, you mentioned Corbin and that you went to South Laurel, and I was playing around with numbers, again, having been around 100 years. And I looked back just to see when you played, and you have the distinction of being on the last team out of South Laurel that beat Pulaski County in a regular season.
I'd like to keep it that way.
Well, now I'm sure you would, but I looked at that and we laughed because I said, I've never met Coach Burns, and all I've got is my stats from that game to look at. And I flipped through there, and I think we had credited you with 12 tackles in that game. So I'm pretty sure you had a positive memory of that game.
Yeah, it was senior year, and that was one of the bigger games that we had won that year. And, beating Pulaski County, it was a big moment for our team.
Sure.
And
then you've got Woodford County's going to come calling, and I don't know the situation, but if the Johnson kid plays football, and I don't know if he's going to, he had in the past, I don't know if basketball is totally preoccupied, but if they do, he's a special athlete, and that's a good football team.
Yeah, Coach Johnson, Coach Dennis,
he's a good guy.
He's a great guy, does an amazing job. He's taken that program to new heights. He's, kind of moved it forward. And they're going to be very athletic, and they're going to be well coached. And, it's another challenge on the schedule that, like I said, we're not going to back away. We'll play whoever. You might beat us by a running clock, or we might beat you, but we're not going to shy away.
Plan on showing up. All right, then you've got the 4 district foes that everybody's familiar with. That's South Laurel, North Laurel, Harlan County, and then the regular season-ending Southwestern duel. But you threw Madison Central in the middle of all that mess, and they are How can I say
I'll
this? You didn't throw Madison.
I inherited that schedule.
Well, I'll say this about Madison Central. They've been good in the past.
Oh, yeah.
But they are loaded this year.
Yeah, Coach Blair does an amazing job. I'm familiar with Coach Blair. Coach Blair actually coached at Bull County for a while.
Yep.
Not while I was there, but he did coach there. And he's done an amazing job of just kind of, revitalizing what's traditionally a basketball school to be competitive in football.
Well, that's a big school and with a lot of athletes, and if you can just get it going in the right direction. But the district, I'm not even going to spend any time in the district because we'll talk about all those as the season comes along. But again, looking at this district just for the briefest of moments, you got to put Southwestern at the top of this district till somebody beats them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You got to look at the other schools, North, South, and Harlan County, all have new head coaches. You joined that group, by the way. 4 out of the 5 in this district are new head coaches. But I say that to say this, I don't know what to expect. Naturally, you do. You know the coaches and the systems. But it's going to be a different look this year because you've got different coaches. And I have talked to some people, and expectations at North Laurel are higher than I thought they would be. So they may want to stick their nose into this thing. And I don't know about Harlan County new coach. Last year they struggled a little bit. Mm-hmm. But we'll wait and see about that one. But you have got a schedule that if you win 10 games, you deserve like a plaque. Or maybe more. If you win 8 games, you probably still deserve a plaque, and that's how tough this schedule is for a first-year coach. And I thought you would take, Mike, it's tough. And when we talked the other day, I thought you were going to say, I don't know where we're going to find a win. You looked me and I mean, the answer was spot on. You're planning on playing all of them.
Yeah, I mean, and I learned that at Bull County. Bull County traditionally is a smaller school, and they play 5A, 6A teams.
Yep.
They play all these, and that's just got to be our mentality. We'll play whoever, wherever, right? And it's the guy in front of us. It's the next game, and it is a tough schedule. But you know what? I like playing in competitive games.
Well, let's just take this. I mean, people say, well, why would Coach Burns next year when he gets to make his own schedule? Why would he not schedule teams that are around here close by? And the simple answer to that is they won't play us.
No, they won't play us.
I mean, I'm not, we'll learn over time. We get to know each other better. I don't candy coat a lot of stuff. There's some schools that just will not play you.
Yeah, and when they won't play you, you've got to
got to go somewhere.
You've got to find a game, and you got to go somewhere. And typically that's a lot of travel, but we'll play whoever, wherever.
Now this year, because I travel with you, Chris and I will on the road. That's a very favorable travel schedule this year.
It is
as far as getting on a bus and going somewhere. Some of the places you're going aren't real friendly, but we've already talked about. All right, let's jump over. You are listening to the Lake Cumberland Sports Preseason Coaches Show. We're here at Buffalo Wings and Rings. Come on out. Coach Clevenger from Somerset already did his time in that seat, and we'll put Coach Foley in it when you and I are done. But come on out. There's quite a few people here, and you're welcome, and I'm sure they would gladly sell you something to eat. Their wings and rings are good. I personally like their burgers, but come on out and join us. Coach, let's go to the defensive side of the football because I, unlike some people, I would much prefer to watch defensive football. It's just, there's just some things that go on that people, they want to know who scored points, who caught the passes, who ran the football and all that. Me, I'm looking at the other side of the football going, that dude had a killer game. He just changed the game.
And all the rules are geared towards offensive football.
Oh, certainly. I mean, but you've got to – I looked, and I think this is correct. I hate to have information that I'm third-handed using, but you've got Loveless back as your leading tackler back from last year. You've got Idlewild, who was your second leading tackler back from last year. You got Colin Finley, who was your third leading tackler back from last year. And you got Broderick Finley, I think he was fifth or fourth. And you got Brandon Ping, who was in the top 5 or 6 tacklers. So you've got some guys back at the linebacker and corner and safety position who have been there, done that.
Yeah, and that's the first thing I saw, that there was a lot of experience and a lot of kids that had played a lot of games, and especially on the defensive side of the ball, that's so important.
Well, you lost 2 D linemen that we missed, but again, it looks to me like the way you're going to use your linemen, you've got enough bodies to fill that front up pretty good.
Yeah. I'm not and this is a change in philosophy. I'm not a platoon guy. I've always said the best 11 should play. And if you want to be competitive, the best 11 should play. But I do think, it's harder on the bigger boys to try to play 100 and 120
Especially
snaps.
when it's 95 degrees. I
yes.
mean, like you said, you get into late October, early November, the weather's a little more of your friend. And like I said, unfortunately, Friday night, make sure you hydrate even if you're coming as a fan, because it may be hot. All right, if we look at just the returning players on defense, who's new that's going to jump out at me that I haven't mentioned out of that bunch?
Well, I think one is freshman Will Adams. He's going to play corner for us. He has had an amazing offseason. Boone Godby, we talked about him earlier.
Right.
He didn't play a lot of defense last year, but he's playing corner for us as well.
You're going to put Brock at safety or the corner?
Yeah, we're going to play him at strong safety. And if you've ever watched, Boyle County defense when I was there, or if you watch the scrimmage, that's what I call a hybrid position. He can drop back and play safety. He can roll down in the box and play linebacker. Sometimes he'll be on the defensive front. It just
Put him on the ground,
it just depends on the call and what they're doing.
Well, again, that gives you flexibility, too, with an athlete that, you've got to account for if you're on the other side of the football.
And then another one is Colton Kane. Colton Kane, he's a junior. He's had an amazing offseason. We think really highly of him. We expect a lot of him, and he had a great scrimmage. So he's another one of the newcomers.
Starting you out with a really long interview, I promise you the rest of the year they won't last this long.
Oh, it's all good.
We won't put you through it. But again, we are at Buffalo Wings and Rings, South Highway 27. This is Lake Cumberland Sports Look at our coaches show, and Coach Burns is with us, and I appreciate you doing this. You need to wear that for 2 or 3 weeks. It's got your name on the back.
Oh, I know.
And that's good, because people were asking me, how much time have you spent with Coach Burns? I said, really? To be honest, we've spoken a few times, but we've never spent until the other day, and I found you to be very open and straightforward. And, all right, I've never seen you play. Never seen your style of play, period. I've seen some, because I'm playing what if. When I show up Friday night, defensive side of the football, what am I going to see?
Well, you're going to see, and what I pride in and what I think our team prides is, you're going to see 11 silver hats to the football in every play. You're going to see a physical team. You're going to see a team that stops the run and then, wins the situations, wins the juice plays. And it's just a defensive energy. It's a defense that's going to get after it. They're not going to back down. They're going to go meet it at the line of scrimmage, and they're having fun, right? And we break it down to, on the defensive side of the ball, we break it down to DYJ, and that's just
do your job.
Just do your job.
Do your job.
Everybody has a job. It takes 11 individuals on each play to have success.
Offense, I have seen Boyle County's offense in the past through 2 iterations, Chuck Smith's offense, and then obviously to run the football effectively, you have to commit to the running game. You have to have some commitment that says, if I run it 8 times and I don't gain the 20 yards total, I've still got to run the football. I can't completely run away from it. And I think when I see your football teams, if I have to coach against you, I got to say, well, I've got to stop the run. And then I look at a big old offensive line that's leaned down, and a couple running backs who are, I assume Idlewild will run some running back also. And I see a couple of really good athletes among others. I think Ford and a couple others are taking snaps. But I'm going to look at that and I'm going to say, okay, I have got to stack the box. I've got to find some way to keep him from running the football. But there's our motorcycle boys back again.
Yeah, offensively, I think, like you said, we have three really good backs. Obviously, you have Kaysen, who had, as a freshman, 1,500 yards. You have Ethan Idlewild, who, I call him the seasoned vet. It seems like he's, just
Put him somewhere.
He's always been there, and he can run the ball very effectively. But then you also have another freshman in Winston Ford.
That's who it was.
That has had an amazing offseason. And I tell our guys, like, Winston earned a spot because he practiced so hard and he gave us such a great look, and he caused us problems. But, like you said, we're going to run the football. We're going to be a very balanced team. We're going to run the football. We're going to run a lot more gap schemes than probably what has been in the past. But, we're not going to abandon the passing game. We're just going to transform it. It's going to be a lot of play-action pass. We're going to take our, we're not going to throw the ball deep. We're going to take our, what the defense gives us, and, it's going to be a very methodical approach to offense.
Look at them. They look hungry, don't they?
They do.
They're waiting to see if we do anything silly. They're gonna,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, well, I don't know. I've got to know a lot of your kids over the years.
They're awesome.
I hate to use the word kids. They're young men. But I've got to know a lot of your players over the years, and it's good to see the smiles. And I spoke to one of them who's sitting right there, who's playing both ways on your football team. And I said, how you like going both ways? Love it. I said, that's good. And I said, how about after tomorrow night? He said, I'll get back with you. They're that realistic. I mean, okay, I know you're going to spread the field a little bit, but will I see a tight end most times?
Yeah, you're going to see, we'll get in, spread sets, we'll get in trips and do those things, but you're going to see a lot of tight end or two tight ends or tight end wing. You'll see a lot of two backs.
Okay.
If you watch the Bell County scrimmage, we got in the I formation. We're going to do things that we think are going to win us the football game. If you watch the game now, and offense is proactive, defense is reactive.
Right.
Right. Defense is kind of caught on to how to play the spread.
Oh,
But
I agree. Yeah.
Then now, if you watch college football, it's kind of went back, and it's still spread, but it's, what I call the power spread. They're getting a lot of heavier sets. They're adding extra linemen, doing those things, and that's what we're going to do. We're gonna manipulate the formation. We're going to manipulate gaps to run the football, and then, when we run the football effectively, we're going to try to play action, or, we hit Harris or whatever on an RPO, things that's kind of, everything's going to be centered around running the football and doing that effectively.
Again, when you put the team on the field, it'll have a different look because of the style. But the goal is still the same. That is to keep the football from the other guy getting it all the time. And I can see, we used to joke with Coach Kane. He and I would sit around, he'd say, well, if I've got it for 8 minutes, they didn't score any points unless I helped them.
Yeah, the best defense is a consistent offense.
Yes.
People ask me all the time, and that's kind of, I always say two things when they talk about football. The best defense is a consistent offense. Great players make great coaches.
Amen. Yeah, when you put really, really talented kids out there that want to win, coaches get a lot smarter.
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
And I got this from Coach Haddix, and he always would say this, but, coach-led teams are good, player-led teams are great.
Yeah, that's, if you're going to be great, it's got to be the kids.
It's got to be the kids.
You can want it for them all you can, but you can't do it.
No, they got to take ownership.
I agree.
And I think our kids have done that. And, it's a process. It's we talk about respecting the process. Just focus on what your job is, what you have to do to do that job at a high level. And I think the kids have really done that. But like I tell it, we got to have a growth mindset. We got to continuously focus on getting better and just doing our job. Like, we don't look at the external factors. We don't look at, we play this team this week. We got to have it. Like I told the kids today, we got to have a great practice today. That's all we're focused on, and they did. We had a great defensive practice today, and that's I think that's shifting a little bit, kind of from what it was to what it is now. Like, we're just focused on doing that, and then once the game comes around, the scoreboard will take care of itself.
So Tuesday is defense.
Yes.
So I'll start slipping out there and sitting in the stands by myself and watching you practice. So Tuesday's the day I need to put on my calendar to go sit in the stands.
Yeah. So
I love defense.
So the way I structure it, we come in on Sunday, we lift and stretch and kind of get the lactic acid out. We'll watch film. Monday's an offensive day. We'll do a little what I call game plan defense. We kind of go over, this is what we're going to do. Here's some of the things that we saw on film. Tuesday is a defensive day. And then Wednesday is a split day. So we kind of split the day. And, we film with a drone now. So we film practice. So we look at the drone footage and we say, all right, this is what we need to work on for Wednesday. And we work on it. And then Thursday is a specialty kind of practice. So we kind of, I call it organized chaos, but it's like, we put them on the sideline and we'll run the kickoff team on. We'll run and just get them used to the situations of the game, and then we'll kick it off on Friday.
Friday night, 5:45, Corbin Field. Gilliam Field, that's what it's called? No.
Campbell Field.
Gilliam
Field is South Laurel.
Yes, that's South Laurel. My goodness. What's wrong with them? Anyway, if you're looking to go, I'm going to give you some advice. They are working on 25 when you get off the interstate going toward Corbin, and they've got it choked down to one lane going in places. It may not be a mile and a half off the interstate where you turn to go to Corbin High School. Give yourself a little time because you may not want to miss the opening snaps of your first game.
Well, I'm a big two hours before kickoff. So if we're traveling, I want to be there 2 hours before kickoff. That gives us plenty of time. The kids to get off, stretch their legs, walk the field if they want to, get taped. And so our plan is to leave at 3 o'clock.
Okay. And you've gotten through, the second scrimmage is out of the way, so you've gotten through everything getting ready to play. Good shape physically. I mean, everybody, and I don't mean lifting and strength-wise. I'm saying injury-wise, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah. We had Ethan Idlewind. He was out for about 2 weeks, and he's back. He's coming back for the game on Friday, and we're pretty healthy. We do a lot of things. The good thing is I have the first period class with them, so we do a lot of injury prevention. We stretch them, foam roll them, ice bath them. Because what people don't understand, and I think you saw, like, we're a 5A school with a 3A roster.
We've talked to it, yes, and that's true.
We have to, you can't really platoon kids because you don't have the numbers, but you got to take care of them, and it's a nice balance because, like, you have to take care of the kids, but if you don't practice full speed with some physicality, they're not going to ever do it in the game.
Oh, I think that's the thing that became in vogue a few years ago, where you quit hitting in practice. You quit actually physically practicing football, and I think a lot of people learned that led to a lot more injury, not less injury.
Yeah, I learned from Coach Smith that, a lot of the injuries and tackling actually happen on the ground when they go to the ground. So we have crash pads that we use that we're going to make a full speed tackle. We have the wrap and roll pads, and we do a lot of things that, like, they're still practicing a full speed tackle, but they're not going to the ground. And then that's how we practice a lot of the time. We're going to thud up. We call it drive for 5. You're going to wrap up, striking, driving for 5 yards, and that's you're practicing full speed, but you also are very aware that, hey, I need to make sure that I'm not just beating them to death.
We wanted you to get to know Coach Burns. Those of you who are listening to us and going to follow Pulaski through the season, or even other schools, this will be pretty widely viewed. So we've talked a lot of football. See, I've sat here and listened to a lot of stuff that I wanted to know, so I cheated. We did it during the interview. How about your kicking game? Mr. Mounts is back, is that right?
Yeah. And he's had an amazing offseason. Kason Brock is punting for us. And I was a special teams coordinator for a long time at Bull, and I take pride, and we take pride in the specialty game, you know. And the difference between it is, like, you get one play, and if you mess up on that one play, it's one of the biggest plays in the game.
I have seen so many well, you're a young man, so I've got you on this one. I've seen a lot of high school football in 69 years here on earth. I will tell you the number of times I've seen a better team get beat because special teams went out and gommed it up and gave up a couple cheap scores or ruined field position and things. And the next thing, well, are you being photobombed?
Oh, yeah.
Who would have thought it? That one's a piece of work.
But and you know, special teams all about field position.
Yes.
Maintaining field position. If we can put our offense in favorable situations, you know, they did a study, you know, you'll hear a lot. I kind of do a lot of research.
I can tell.
So, Frank Beamer, you know who that is?
Yes, he used to be the head football coach at South Carolina.
Beamer Ball or
Virginia Tech.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
So
yes,
Beamer Ball, and he had a famous, you know, thing, and Jack Harbaugh also did. And it was basically, you know, 100 yards gained on special teams is 7 points on the scoreboard.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how we look at it. Like, are we gonna, you know, put our offense at the 50-yard line where it's, you know, 80% chance you're going to score, or are we going to get pinned back and not maintain that field position? So that's kind of how we look at it. And then, you know, with our return game, it's, you know, they talk about hidden yardage, right? We're big on field the ball because, you know, what young players don't realize is when that ball hits and it rolls for an extra 10, 15 yards, well, then now you've lost those yards.
Certainly.
And so now you have to get a whole nother first down or a whole, you know, 2 first downs to even get to where you're
To
going.
get started.
To get started.
Yep.
So we take pride in it, and we work it every day.
I'll check the watch here because you and I could sit here. I know you've got things to do, but I could sit here and talk football with you all night long. The special teams, that's something that if you don't take the time and emphasize it, this is an opinion, and make the kids buy into the fact of how important it really is, it's pretty easy to give it lip service and not do it.
It is. And
it shows.
Yeah, and we practice special teams, like I said, every day for 15 minutes. So we're practicing it Monday through Thursday. We're watching film on it on Sundays. So we take a lot of pride in it. You know, that's just another area of the game that you can get a competitive advantage on your opponent.
We have, over the years, chronicled a team that has a kicker that can consistently kick the football in the end zone in high school football, make the other team go 80 yards to score. The number of those 80-yard drives dwindle significantly than if you're getting it at the 40 or something. And it's just field position is hugely important.
I used to show, when I was a special teams coordinator, I used to show a graphic to the kids about what you're talking about. And it was like, if the drive starts at the 20, it's like 15%.
Yes.
If the drive starts at the 30, it just showed them the importance of, like, this is why it matters.
All right, we're going to wind this up in 4 or 5 minutes from now, but I know you want to thank your coaches, the administration, the boosters, and everybody that allows you to coach football and hopefully not have to do a lot of other stuff. But I caught you doing laundry the other day, I think, so hang on.
Well, you know, the first person I would like to thank is my wife.
Amen.
You know, I couldn't do this, and I think our coaches would agree.
And you have a beautiful baby girl,
yes,
too.
her name's Nora, and we're very proud and happy. But, you know, our wives as coaches are, what make it. Like, I couldn't do this if my wife wasn't supportive. And I got lucky. My wife is a coach, so she
understands.
She understands. But yeah, the administration at Pulaski County High School. When I was hired, it was Dr. Cook. Now it's Mrs. Hoff and Brian Miller and Cody Wesley. All those in the administration team have been just an amazing. I've asked them for this or that, and they've bent over backwards to get it for me. The Booster Club has been amazing. Like you said, they do a lot of things that they don't get praised for, but if it didn't get done, we couldn't run as an effective football team.
And your sponsors, I know it takes.
Well,
it takes money to run a railroad.
It takes money, and then I think people would be shocked about how much money it does take to run an effective football program.
You're lying. Well, again, we talk about it. I have a son-in-law, and we'll wrap this up in just a second, who's a soccer coach. And their cost to field a soccer team, when you start looking at a football team, and let's just say you've got 60 kids, plus or minus, some are 100, some you got 60 kids, and you start outfitting them. Mm-hmm. If you don't believe me, my wife, somewhere we were the other day, and there was a football helmet involved, and she said, well, those are pretty complex-looking things. What do they cost? And I told her she couldn't believe it. Mm-hmm. And those have, a 2-year shelf life, maybe 3?
The warranty is valid for 2 years, and then if you get it refurbished, then it renews that warranty up to 10 years.
All right, here we go. We are at Buffalo Wings and Rings. We're on South 27, and we're wrapping this puppy up, and I want to thank Coach Burns one more time. We're going to do this more often, but welcome to Lake Cumberland Sports. Best of luck with the Pulaski County Maroons, and Friday night we'll see you in Corbin, and if you can go,
yes,
you're invited.
Come out and support.
If you can't go, somewhere around 5:45 we'll be on air. Join us for every snap of Pulaski County football this year, home and away. And yes, we will have some video games, but no, Friday night will not be video. It'll be audio only. Coach, best of luck.
Yes, thank you.
We'll do this again sometime.
Oh, yeah. Enjoyed it.
See you Friday night.
See you.
Good luck on number 1.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know if, let's stick here a minute, because I just saw the guy who's going to take your seat coming in out of the parking lot, so we're going to give him just.
I thought I saw him walk in here.
Did he make it?
Yeah, I thought he was in.
All right, I'll tell you what. We'll wrap this up. Coach Burns.
Here he is.
I'll say it one more time. Good luck.
Thank you.
See you soon, man. We're getting ready to wind us up. Pulaski County, 5:45 Friday night at Corbin, taking on Beechwood. We'll be done. Coach Foley and Josh are going to join us, and we'll get out of the way. Tune us in Friday night. Southwestern will play on Saturday. For me and Pat, so long.
Toyota of Somerset, we're known for great service before and after the sale, and so much more. Since 1988, Toyota of Somerset has been supporting our local communities. And we sell and service what a number of different rating services call the most fuel-efficient, dependable, and safe vehicles on the road. Toyota. Toyota of Somerset, South Highway 27 Somerset, and online at toyotaofsomerset.com. At Toyota of Somerset, we're all about you.
Here to come in 17500, here to come in 175.2. I 200 down, down again, here to come in a quarter.
Like successful sports programs, putting together a successful auction takes a lot of planning, organization, attention to detail, and teamwork. And you need dedicated and committed people pulling together. At Ford Brothers Auctioneers, we've been successfully selling the country since 1965. Ford Brothers Auctioneers. Give us a call or visit us online at FordBrothersInc.com.
Ford Brothers Auctioneers, we're selling the country.
Lake Cumberland Sports Coaches Show. There we go. Lake Cumberland Sports Coaches Show. From Buffalo Wings and Rings, I'm Josh Kenny. Pleased to be joined by Southwestern coach Jason Foley. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing great, my friend. It's great to see you. We always certainly do appreciate the time. Let's go back like we always like to do and kind of recap last year, if you will. Ball club went 9-4 last year after starting 0-2. went on a 4-game winning streak, and then a 5-gamer that included 2 dubs versus that PC team across town. That's always important. District champs again. Then you won 5 in a row, 8 straight region title game appearances. Now you hosted last year, but ran into a hot Cooper team. Coach, I know it didn't end the way you wanted it to, but still another great season.
Yeah, I mean, you look back at last season, we had some ups and downs.
You did.
But we had a very good football team, a lot of seniors last year, and we had a very competitive schedule. And, you look back at those 4 losses that we had, the Cooper, of course, went to the state final, a Franklin County team that was really good, and a South Warren team as well, and then Ballard, the 6A. So, in every one of those games, we were right in them.
Yeah.
We were right there. You'd like to have a play or 2 back. But all in all, it was a good season for us and just something that we wanted to build on coming into this season.
Looking forward to a great year this year, and we'll go ahead and transition to this year. 6th season at Southwestern. I noticed as you walked in a little more gray hairs there. Are you feeling the age?
I don't necessarily feel it, but I know it ages you a little bit, and it's hard to believe 6 years.
I know it. Yeah.
Going on 6 years now, and it's been a fun ride, and it seems like I said, I say this every year. I remember the very first time we sat down here for this, and it seems like no time.
I remember your introductory press conference and thinking, and here we are 6 years later, and that's why I bring that up to jest with you and rib you a little bit. Like, coach-wise in town, you're the elder statesman now, so you're not far away from a Walker or Kane or something, I think.
That's kind of crazy because I was the young new guy when I came in, and I guess now I've got the longest tenure, so it's definitely different.
Certainly different, no doubt about it, and that pertains to the district too. And hopefully we'll have a chance to get to that point. 50-15 at Southwestern. You are going into your 6th season, 69-21 in your coaching career. The Southwestern program, 219-146 in its 32nd year. Always like to start with looking at your roster. Let's start with those seniors. Those you've got an incredible group of seniors that know what you expect and know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a senior class that it's kind of a mixture. We've got several that's got a lot of game experience. We've also got some kids that's going to be getting some first-time experience with us, but it's a really good class. And maybe 3 years ago, I wasn't sure about the number, but now, we're sitting around 15, 16, 17 seniors.
Wow.
And it's a good group, and they really have worked hard throughout the off season, and it's a lot of different types of kids in the group. You got some receivers, DBs, we got some running backs, linebackers, offense, defensive linemen. And it's a little bit of everything in the group, and they're well rounded, and they're coming into form for us this year.
That's something I was thinking about coming over. Like in years past, it seems like there would be a class or two that was kind of a thin class, but again, you're going into your 6th season. It seems like there's not a thin class. That's a great thing.
Right. Well, I mean, it's just a credit to what we try to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we put a lot of emphasis in our young guys, our freshmen, and our JV teams. I think that helps keep the interest level in those first couple years. And, and then we try to get in the hallways and get the athletes out. I'm a believer that you got to have the Jimmies and the Joes.
Yep.
And we really work hard to try to get the best players out, whether it's big athletes, whether it's big linemen. And we don't get them all that we want, but we do get a lot of kids in the hallways walking to school at Southwestern that we get to play football. And sometimes they don't play till they get in high school, but they end up having an impact by the time they're seniors. And we want to try to start doing that in the middle school as well.
You talk about that senior class, and you've got so many alpha males, you got so many dogs in that class, and that's an affectionate term. Like there are so many seniors that have contributed for your football team for so many years now, and they got another go around.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk about some of them. I've got a few here. I don't want to miss any of them. Bradley Baker. Start off with him. He's defensive end, playing some offensive line for us this year. A lot of varsity experience, a lot of big game experience for Bradley. You've got an Austin Brummett who plays offensive line, scrappy. He's had a little bit of an injury. Looking forward to having him back. Antoine Dunford, playmaker out wide. He's an athlete, obviously going to be a big-time target for us and plays defense. Caden Flores, he led us in yards per carry last season. He just got great field vision, sees the field. Jace Gager, our kicker, can't say enough about him, and man, has he improved.
That dude.
And you'll see it more this year. He's really improved.
I don't want to get you off track. I'm going to say it for him now. You got to let him kick a field goal.
Oh, we plan to.
Sorry.
We certainly plan to.
ahead.
I've been really pleased
awesome.
with what he's brought.
That's great to hear.
Jonas Gallagher, the leader of our secondary, another kid with a bunch of big games.
Yeah, man.
He's vocal, and he flies around the football field. So excited for Jonas' senior year.
Yeah, man.
Logan Haynes, one of the top tacklers on the team last year at linebacker.
Yeah.
He's also a really, really good running back, gets downhill north and south. Drew Nabnett, linebacker. When he's got a switch on the field, he's got a little bit of meanness, nasty to him in between the whistles. So we're excited for him. Jaden Larkham, wide receiver, a lot of speed there. Plays wide receiver, defensive back for us. Caleb Lunsford, you'll see him at tight end, H-back a lot this year. That's another dedicated warrior that's been with us for a long time. He works his tail off, and he's a great role player and a kid that's going to do a lot of different types of things for us this year. Lucas McKee, happy to have him back.
Absolutely.
We didn't have him last year. Tremendous linebacker, also plays running back. Hunter Osborne will take over Nico Pascarella's role at center and will be a leader on the front line for us. Elijah Ray is going to be an outstanding defensive lineman and also will play on the offensive line as well. That's another kid that's really came on a lot the last 2 years. And let's see, I don't want to miss anybody here. Braxton Walters, we've already seen the recognition he's getting.
Yeah, well deserved for Braxton.
Braxton does it all. He's one of our top two-way players, linebacker, running back, and he's really playing the game right now on a mission.
Really?
And been a great leader for us. And just, you won't outwork the kid. And
That's a scary thought if he's on a mission.
He's on a mission right now, so he's ready for a great senior year.
Nice.
And Khalil White, defensive end, tight end for us, and we're excited for his athleticism. A lot of length there with Khalil. So hopefully I didn't miss it. I went through the list there, but that's our seniors, and we're excited about that group.
That is a great group, no doubt about it. And if folks don't know about Walters being named the preseason district player of the year, that doesn't happen often.
No, I mean, it's, you got a very good district, 5-team district, and obviously he was selected for that and very deserving.
Absolutely.
And, he has been a huge player for us the last 2 years, and we'll be even calling on him more so this year. And I'm excited for him. I think he's ready for a big year.
I know I'm guilty of this, looking at numbers and getting ready for the season. I know, and we all know what he can do on offense. I had forgotten. He's your leading tackler coming back. He's the leading tackler on the team, period, and he's coming back defensively.
Yeah, he just defensively he flies around. He's very fast. He's a 4'5", 4'6" kid, and great coverage skills. Just a ball hawk, and then offensively, runner can catch passes as well. So he's just a complete player.
That's great. A great senior class, and I'm looking forward to another go around with those seniors that have been so much of this program for so many years. And then you look at that junior class. Tell us about your junior class.
Well, yeah, I mean, we got several juniors as well.
Yeah.
That's come in. Christian Abner plays offensive, defensive line. We've got Jason Campbell, defensive lineman. Zabry Cox, you'll see him a lot this year. Plays defensive backs and wide receiver for us. He's a big-time player. Caden Daughtery, like Braxton's a big two-way player right now. Linebacker, playing some offensive guard. Nick Doan plays wide receiver, DB. Angel Flores up on the offensive line, plays some guard for us. Jaden Johnson, running back, linebacker. Everybody knows Devin Leclerc. That's a big name.
Who? Oh, yeah, I think I remember him.
Yeah.
Big 7'7".
Yeah, big Debo.
Doing work, yeah.
He's back on the defensive line for us, plays offensive line as well, so excited for Devin's junior year.
Yeah, man.
Logan Renfro, a kid that's really come on the offseason for us, plays offensive line for us and D-line. Deshaun Sejour's been battling injury, big-time athlete. We're excited when we can get him healthy. He's DB, wide receiver. Tanner Smith, wide receiver, DB. as well. That's a kid that's playing a lot of safety for us right now. And Brody Walker, defensive lineman, real fast, quick D-line. We're excited for him. And then Kendall Wesley, that's a wide receiver, defensive back for us as well. That's really coming on. You'll see some big things out of him as a skilled player. So that's just a quick rundown of our junior class. And that's a group, again, that's got a lot of good pieces to it.
Yeah.
And like the seniors, will be asked on to lead for us this year.
Absolutely. That's a great junior group, and there are so many talented warriors in that group. Thanks for joining us. Lake Cumberland Sports Coaches Preview Show. Buffalo Wings and Rings. May I suggest the Ranchero Tots? They are absolutely delicious. I know you haven't ate yet. You just come from practice.
Just came from practice.
You cannot go wrong with fried pickles or Ranchero Tots.
Okay, we'll have to check it out.
Either way, you'll be just fine. I'm Josh McKinney along with Southwestern head coach Jason Foley. That's the upperclassmen, the seniors and the juniors. Your sophomore bunch, you've never been afraid to take an underclassman and put them in the fire. And more often than not, my goodness, they always respond, and that's how you practice, and that gets them ready for that moment.
Yeah, well, I just believe in putting the best players on the field.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it is your older kids, but if we've got young kids in the program that come in as freshmen or sophomores, and they get to the point where they're ready to play varsity football, we're not afraid to do it. And
why not?
We've had kids that stepped up and done it in the past, and so we're real excited. I know I talked about the senior junior class. Sophomore class is my biggest class.
Is it really?
And they're the most in number. A lot of really, really good skill kids in the group. We got, a few linemen, not as many linemen in that class, but there's a bunch of good skill kids in that group. And they're a group that's changed a lot, too, since they were in 8th grade. They were young, and they've grown a lot since middle school. And I think you'll see them mature and a lot of them making plays this year on the field.
Not to go too far down this road, how have they changed since you saw them in grade school?
Well, there's a lot of them that was 12 years old in 8th grade, and sometimes they were playing in teams in middle school that was 14.
Oh wow!
And I think that's sometimes maybe a miscue about how good your group's going to be.
I can see that.
A lot of times at that middle school level, it's about age and the holdback situation and all that. And we had a lot of young kids in that class, and I've just watched them grow. They've gotten a lot bigger in the weight room. Guys like Parker Burton and Zach Benedict has grown tremendously. And, there's some good kids, though. I'll name a few here since we did the other ones. Starts with Zach Benedict at quarterback.
Yeah.
He is our QB1 at this moment. We've had a battle a little bit, but he's come in that region championship game, plays some defensive back for us. Cameron Bonds, running back, linebacker. Parker Burton, already mentioned him. Parker, he's a running back, he's a wide receiver, he's a DB, he's a complete player. So great field vision. You'll see him be a big-time player for us this year. Broughton Burton works hard. Like Braxton, you're not going to outwork Broughton. Plays defensive back, wide receiver, two-way kid, so excited for what he can do. Caden Campbell plays some tight end. He can slide down and play up front if we need him. Plays defensive end for us. Big kid. He's a two-sport guy. Excited for what Caden can bring to the table for us this year. Colson Ockman, the fast running back. I know a lot of people know about Flores, kind of a Flores-ish type kid, but he's a little different in the fact that he's probably a little more downhill, but he's got a lot of speed. So he's kind of that next wave of that scat back for us. Stephen Flores, offensive and defensive lineman, a new player that we've got out. Bradley Foster plays tight end. We've got Samuel Framer, linebacker, running back. That's a kid that's really come on the last couple of years. Alex Nabney plays offensive line for us. We're excited about what he can do, help us up front. Jordan Lewis, who was a starter for us last year at linebacker. You'll see him at linebacker this year, defensive end. He'll play some running back. He's extremely fast, extremely athletic. See a lot from him. Tayden Richardson. One of the leaders of the team. He's plays a lot of quarterback with the young guys, plays defensive back at the varsity level, and we're excited for what he brings to our team as well. Noah Shepard, offensive defensive line. I want to say Noah's out the season with an injury, but we'll definitely look forward to him recovering and getting back with us. Christian Smith plays running back DB, fast kid. Gabe Strunk, O-line, D-line. Another up-and-coming lineman. Dawson Swihart plays running back and linebacker for us. He's one of our leaders and speakers on our team. Kids love him.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
As a sophomore.
Yeah. They like to hear some of Dawson's speeches.
Okay.
So, yeah, he gets them going.
Now I'm curious. Coach.
Trent Talent, O-line, D-line, another up-and-coming big boy. And then Zach Waters, O-line, D-line as well, another up-and-comer. And I think that completes our sophomore class. So it's a great group of kids, and excited for all those guys.
Oh, you weren't lying. It's a big class. Did you take all the sophomores at the high school?
Well, we didn't get them all, but we got quite a few.
Would you leave like 2 or 3 out there? That's a great group though, because at practice, those guys are getting reps with the starters. Some can get into that starting lineup. I mean, that helps that sophomore class and those underclassmen so much to have all those bodies, to have all those reps. That's a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, the key with the young kids in our program is, we're going to play Frosh games, which is freshmen, sophomores. We're going to play JV games, and then you're going to get live reps against a really good offense and defense every day in practice.
Absolutely.
If you embrace that and you bring it, you become a really good player. And a lot of these kids do that. They're tough, they're gritty, and they came a long ways. Like I said, the sophomore group can't say enough about them, but we'll be calling on several of those. I'll probably mention 20 of them. We'll be calling on 8 or 10 of those guys to make some big time plays for us on Friday night.
I was going to say I can already bet that you're going to hear some of those names. You're going to hear a lot of those names throughout the year. That's the sophomore class. Freshman class, how have you done for freshmen?
Freshman class is a solid group. They're not as big as the sophomore group. A lot of linemen in that class. We talked about the skill in the sophomore class. I think the two groups complement each other really well.
Interesting.
The freshmen, sophomores, because the strength of one of them is kind of the weakness of the other, and I think they complement each other well. So some of the freshmen, I do want to call them out. Don't miss any of them. Eli Bonds, he is the scat back running back in that group, and very good field vision. Noah Burton, wide receiver DB. Alex Davis, that's one of the linemen, offensive, defensive linemen that we're talking about. You've got Hunter Gibson, another lineman. He's been a kid that's got a lot of recognition through middle school All-Stars. He's going to be a really good player for us, plays offense and defensive line. Once we get him into some reps, I think you're going to see him make an impact, maybe even this year, but certainly coming on as a sophomore. Braxton Hamilton, offensive and defensive lineman. We've got Blake Haynes, Logan's younger brother, plays running back for us, DB. Jacob Kaiser, that's like Hunter. He got a lot of recognition in middle school. Great offense and defensive lineman for us. We're excited for what he can do. Tristan Larkham, Jaden Larkham's younger brother. He plays tight end for us. We've got Neil Patel. He's the brother of Patel we had before. He plays wide receiver, hard-working kid. We've got, let's see here, Jackson Staley. Plays DB, wide receiver, real gritty, hard-nosed kid. That's another one I think could make an impact on Friday nights, at least on special teams anyways. Diego Torres, offensive and defensive lineman. And then Aiden Whitson, one of the best players in that group, all-around player, plays linebacker, plays running back for them, and is a do-it-all type kid. So another good class.
Yeah.
Like I said, them and the sophomore class, they complement each other well.
How often does that happen? You see classes complement one another, or does that ever happen? I don't know if I've ever heard a coach really say that, honestly.
Well, you like for that to happen. It don't always fall that way, but I just think those two groups mesh well together.
Cool. That's
they've got, if once you combine them, they're going to be a good group as they get older and playing on Friday nights.
Well, it's certainly going to be fun, and that's your Southwestern Warriors this year. A great group of Blue and Orange Warriors set to do their sixth go-around under Coach Jason Foley. Now, that's individual players. Let's while we have the time, we've got a lot to get through. Offensively, you're going to change everything. You're going to throw it all out the window. You're going to.
Well, we're not going to change everything.
Why would you when it's working?
We've had good success, and we're always looking to tweak, looking to add to, maybe take away things that wasn't as effective. But I will say this, though. At my time at Southwestern, it is the most inexperienced offensive group that I've had since year one.
Really?
And what I mean by that, it's not necessarily an age. It's just new players. And, we had a lot of seniors last year that started on offense.
Yeah,
we
did.
had 4 offensive linemen.
That alone in itself was
Right.
That's a big,
Well, we
big
had
replacement.
four of the 5 offensive linemen were seniors. You had guys like Christian Walden, Caden Hewitt, Caden Cunningham,
Yeah.
who were that running back receivers. And it wasn't that the kids behind them weren't good. Those guys were really good seniors.
Yeah.
And so we got probably of our offense 3 to 4 that's got much experience. But they're really coming on. I think it's a group that, we might the first couple games sputter a little, but I think as the season gets going, you'll see us get better and better offensively. And we, as a coaching staff, feel like we've got the pieces to be good. As far as what our identity will be, we're still trying to figure it out. We want to be multiple. We want to be in the gun. We'll go under center and still play power football at times. But we'll get in the gun and we'll spread it out. Zach's a runner. Antoine's a runner that we can put back there at the quarterback position.
Yep.
And so it's kind of a dual threat type of system. And but then we'll get under center and still do what we do at times too.
You got those running backs, and always a stable of running backs, and preseason district player of the year in Braxton Walters. You can ride Braxton, and you got the shifty Flores, and I expect we're going to kind of see what we've seen in past years from your offensive group, and then you had a playmaker like Dunford. My goodness, he just sweats athleticism, doesn't he?
Yeah, we're fortunate, obviously, to have that type of weapon. He can go up. He's 6'5". He can high point a football. He can blow by you. If he catches a short pass, he can make you miss and go the distance. He can run over you. He can play wide receiver. He can play running back. He can play quarterback.
Yeah.
And so we're fortunate to have him. But I'll tell you this, you take a guy to go along with him, Parker Burton.
Absolutely.
Out wide. Parker Burton's as a sophomore. He's a playmaker. Zabry Cox, he's a playmaker. Caleb Lunsford, Caden Campbell will be making some plays at Y. We can mention Bryton Burton. That's another wide receiver, really good slot receiver. And then you throw in the running backs of Caden Flores, Logan Haynes. Of course, we've mentioned Braxton Walters. Lucas McKee and Jordan Lewis could play a factor. If Colson Eichmann, who's had a sprained ankle, once he gets going, that's another factor. So we've got options offensively. Even Jonas Gallagher can step in and play if he needs to. And Kendall Wesley, that's another one that's a receiver. So we got options, and I'm excited to have that kind of depth up front. Hunter Osborne, Devin LeClark's about the only 2 with a lot of experience. Caden Daughtery, Elijah Ray, Bradley Baker, Angel Flores, those types of guys are going to have to come in and learn the system quick and really help us out. So, and we're looking forward to that. Christian Abner, and then some of the young freshmen, sophomores may be asked as we go along through the season.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, and looking at that, that's what I was thinking as well. Offensively, probably the I hate to say least experience, but the least amount of starters back since you got to Southwestern.
Yeah, that's just, we knew that was coming, because we had that veteran group up in the trenches the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, man.
And but we put a lot of work in. Our coaching staff has put a lot of work in. We've worked since January, of trying to get these linemen ready, and we believe in them. And I think they're going to surprise some people. We may not have the size that we've had, but we're very athletic up front this year. And I go back to the years I've coached, and sometimes your best lines can be your athletic lines.
Very true. Very true.
I know last year when we played, I hate to miss an opponent, but when we played Cooper, their 2 starting linebackers were starting on the offensive line for them, and they're in the state finals. So you can make it work. It's just a different type of style a little bit.
Excellent point. That's the offensive side. A defensive side, I had forgotten until I looked at the numbers. You got a new defensive coordinator. We'll talk about that in a second. My God, defensively, you just let them eat, just let them go, just let them take lunches. Like, my goodness,
Well,
do you have to coach that group? Like,
you got to coach for
Jeez.
sure, but they are on the flip side of the offense.
Yeah.
We've got 7 or 8 guys that's played a lot of defense.
Dude, yes.
And I think that's going to bode well for us as we get going. It is a new system. I've actually had 4. This is my 4th D coordinator in 5 years, and 2 of them took head coaching jobs, and that's due to our success and to their coaching ability.
Yeah.
And so if you want to go be a head coach, I think you come to Southwestern.
I know a guy. Yeah, I know a guy. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah,
but
it is, and we're happy. We're fortunate to
absolutely.
have that. But we've had some good D coordinators in the past, but we're certainly excited about our new defensive scheme. Defensively, I'll mention a few kids that'll lead the way. Up front, it starts with Devin Leclerc, Bradley Baker, and Elijah Ray. And those three kids have played a ton of football on the defensive line, and they're gonna lead us. Khalil White will play a lot. Brody Walker. We mentioned Caden Campbell, and Logan Renfro could come in and help us out quite a bit. So we got some depth on the defensive line. At linebacker, you've got that's the strongest part of our team, in my opinion. Drew and Abnett, Lucas McKee, Braxton Walters, Logan Haynes, Jordan Lewis, Caden Daughtery. That's 6 linebackers that can play varsity level football, and we're excited about them. And we're excited about what and we're going to use them. We're going to utilize them in a lot of different ways and get them going. And the secondary, Brighton Burton, Tanner Smith, Jonas Gallagher, Zabry Cox, Tayden Richardson, we already mentioned. Zach Benedict will step in and play some, and then you might see Dunford back there along with Zach Benedict. I may have already mentioned him, but those guys will all play in the secondary, and we feel good about that. A little bit of inexperience there, but I think we got the athletes to come along quick.
You ever thought about playing 7 or 8 linebackers and just going with it?
Well, we're definitely going to try to utilize them. We've got 6 or 7 that can play. Even a couple of young freshmen in the future, but definitely 6 or 7 older upperclassmen that can play.
I would think on the flip side of your offense, and you kind of mentioned that, like defensively, starter-wise and experience-wise, is that the most experience you've ever had coming back to Southwestern? I don't remember right off. It's got to be that blame close.
It's close. We had one more year, I think, may have been the 21 or 22 season.
Okay.
We had close to this many, but definitely the most linebacker depth we've had back, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's fun. And then the defensive line, I mean, we may not have more than 3 or 4 that's played a lot, but those 3 or 4 has played in some big ball games.
Absolutely, they have. Yeah.
I think the box coming back is going to be really solid for us, and we're excited about what we can do with them.
And you should be, no doubt about it. Come on down to Buffalo Wings and Rings. If you can't make it out tonight, get here this weekend. Great specials. And again, highly recommend the Ranchero Tots. Going to get Coach hooked up with some Ranchero Tots once we're done. That's offense, defense, special teams, a integral part as well. And you mentioned Gager earlier. Man, I love to watch him progress last year, and you said he's got even better. If memory serves correct, he set a school record last year of most consecutive point afters made, and I know he's got a goal this year of not missing a PAT, and he was just chomping at the bit, and I had to give you grief earlier, about wanting to kick a field goal, and you saying he's put in the work, and he's got better this year as well. That's impressive.
We've been really fortunate to have 2 kids in the program that has worked as kickers that's developed. And if you go back to 4 or 5 years ago, it was Caleb Moore.
Absolutely.
And
that kid, or
he was a lot like Jace in the fact that he started off, he was average, worked, and became really good.
Yeah.
Jace is a lot the same way. He was a baseball player. He played football in youth league, maybe some middle school.
Yeah.
We got him out. He was solid. Wasn't tremendous at the start, but he has worked. And I tell you what, the other night we did live special teams, and he was putting the ball down there close to the end zone. He's very, very accurate on his PATs, extra points. And I think we're to the point where we definitely can kick some field goals if we need to.
I know he was ready last year, and it's great to see him progress. You talked about Gager's deep ball and pinning opponents back. That is such an integral part in this game today, especially.
There's a few positions on the football field that's really valuable that a lot of people that maybe don't know football real good don't understand, and kicker is one of them.
Yeah.
I would say center and kicker, and those two positions are extremely valuable, and it can change the game. The special teams is a third of the football game.
Yep.
And it's very important, and we're excited about what Jace is going to do for us.
Well, I know Jace is not the only one on special teams, believe it or not. You've got a lot of great guys. You'll see, starters that have played every snap out on special teams. Like, everybody pitches in special teams-wise.
Yeah, and, we've looked really good early. Coach Logan Starnes is our special team coordinator this year.
Yeah.
He's doing a great job with it, and we looked good in the scrimmage the other night. We've got a lot of athletes that can run. And if you've got that helps you on special teams. And I think it's something that's going to be good for us this year. And we want to win that battle in every game, is win that special team battle, because, in my opinion, when you get in the big games, it's a difference maker.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're looking to build on and try to be really good in them.
And let's be honest, knowing about looking good, Coach Logan knows about it. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah, he doesn't want any other way. So.
That's offense, defense, and special teams. And, we're briefly talking about yet another new defensive coordinator coming in. And, again, that is a good problem to have. But this defensive coordinator, homecoming of sorts, is that
It is a homecoming.
Okay.
Back, if you remember, when Mark Payne, who started with me at Southwestern.
That's right, yeah.
Mark Payne and I coached Coach Jack Herring. He was our team leader when we were at Taylor County. He was our team captain. He led our defense, and we won a region there, did some really good things there in that program. And he helped Mark and I out. First, it was a volunteer-based, and then he went to LCA, got some good experience there.
Yeah.
And he's always had a lot of fire, a lot of passion, a lot of energy. Kids relate to him extremely well. And by me coaching him and coaching with him, I 100% believed in him. And he's done a great job so far, and we look forward to all the things that he's going to bring for us this year.
Got a little bit of pressure on him. Little pressure.
Little pressure.
He's up for it, though.
He's, as he always says, he's going to bet on himself. So I
like
think
it.
He's got confidence.
I like it. Do we have shirts of those made yet?
Not yet.
We need shirts. We're gonna need shirts. Of course, new defensive coordinator. You've got other new faces in coaching positions as well.
Yeah, I definitely want to mention my coaching staff.
Yeah.
Like I said about the offense, this is the most new faces that I've had on my coaching staff since I've been at Southwestern.
Really? Wow.
Had some guys that moved to other locations, and we had to pick up and add some new faces. And so I'm going to mention a few of them. I want to start off with Coach Brian McGuffey. He is our new strength coach, and he's got a guy that's got all kinds of experience in our strength and conditioning aspect. He's a former power lifter, and if anybody that knows me knows that I put a lot of emphasis in the strength and conditioning program.
Yes, you do.
Probably when a lot of people says it, and I do it.
You do.
And for me, I've always done it myself for the most part.
Absolutely.
So I've hired Brian. If you know me, you know I've got have a lot of confidence in somebody to do it,
Yeah.
and I believe in him. He brings a little bit different, some different things that we've not done before that I think is going to help us with injury prevention, get us stronger, and we're excited to have him. Next, we've got Coach Tim Edwards. Coach Edwards is back with us.
Yes. Thank you.
Coach Edwards, he's been a staple here at Southwestern.
He has been.
I think he had 8 years varsity experience prior to me
he did.
coming. His son, everybody knows Patrick Edwards, one of the best football players that's ever played for the Blue and Orange. And he took a little break because Patrick was playing college football.
Absolutely.
And he's back with us. He coaches DBs, wide receivers, a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience. He's a Blue and Orange guy through and through, and we're excited to have him back with us.
Absolutely.
Next, I want to mention Coach Michael Gibson. Michael Gibson helped us last year with analytics in the box. He was the 8th grade defensive coordinator. He will now take over the role of defensive coordinator for our Frosh and JV teams. We're very excited to have him. Very good with analytics, very good coach, and he's a new guy on our staff as well. Eric Minton, head JV coach. He's been with me since I started coaching football, and we know each other well, and he's my right-hand man, so I'm excited to have Eric back with me again. And he and actually one more is the only one that's been with me since I started here. So Jack Herring, we already talked about Jack.
Yeah.
DC excited. Craig Lawrence, Coach Lawrence will be coaching defensive line for us. He'll also be helping with our offensive line, D-line, and JV. Logan Sledge, coaching D-line, D-ends for us in the JV Frosh level. Logan Starnes, special team coordinator, defensive backs and safeties, and he'll be coaching tight ends. Mark Cundiff, linebacker coach. If anybody knows Coach Cundiff, he's going to get his linebackers playing.
Absolutely.
The thing that Coach Cundiff does well is he works hard in practice every day with scout teams, and he really puts his all. He's a winner. He's a competitor, so we're excited to have him. New offensive line coach, Peyton Saylor. You talk about a guy that knows the run game. Peyton knows it. He comes from Rockcastle County under that Coach Larkey regime.
They knew something about running the football.
Definitely knows how to run the football.
Yeah.
So we're excited to have Peyton on board with us. Tate Morris, he is my offensive coordinator, pass game coordinator specifically. And Tate will be coaching quarterbacks. He was our offensive line coach last year.
Okay.
Like Jack, played for me at Taylor County. I'm excited to have him on board. Tim Lloyd has been with me now for a long time. He coaches offensive line, will be assisting and helping out Peyton Saylor. And then Tony Dixon will still be helping us a lot on Fridays with running backs and all of those types of things. So we're excited for all of those guys. Shane Cox will be helping me with analytics offensively. That's a new face as well that actually coached me in high school at Russell County. So we're excited to have Shane Cox. So hopefully I did not forget any of those guys. I tried to go down the list, but they're very valuable, and you're only as good as your coaching staff is.
Well, if you did, I can absolutely promise they will certainly let you know by text or tomorrow at practice pretty quick.
I'm sure they will.
And they should.
And they
right?
should.
And rightfully so. Yeah, you mentioned a lot of names that are, if not, a lot of names new to the program, but there's also a lot of names that are not new to you, and that is very important. I think it's very important.
Well, you've got to have the people that's been with you in the trenches, that's been through the battles. We've got that, and then we've got a lot of young, energetic guys too. So we've got a good balance on our staff as far as veteran, maybe some older wisdom type guys, and then we've got some new, fresh blood that's a lot of energy too. So I think it's a good mix, and I'm excited about the staff and what we can do as we grow and learn together.
Looking forward to going down the road with you and that great coaching staff. And, of course, it wouldn't be possible. It would be nearly impossible if at all without a booster club that gets you what you need, without a AD and Alex Eaton that's a supportive and administration that's behind you. Without any of those three things, your life is incredibly difficult.
Well, you mentioned the boosters first, and boosters have to do so much. I mean, when you look at a football program, a 5A football program.
Gimme. Yeah.
All kinds of money. Yeah. I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars you have to spend. People like Laura Baker, Glennis Larkham, Brittany Miller. You've got guys like Larry Gallagher, Nathan Baker, who does so much that goes above and beyond. We've got Mr. Lunsford, Caleb Lunsford's father. I mean, he does a lot. Chad Lunsford, he's awesome. I don't want to leave anybody out, but there's so many of them that do so much, and I appreciate that. And then you mentioned the administration. Mark Flynn, I did my student teaching under, my principal. Great supporter, can't ask him for more. He's a sports guy, supports his athletics. Alex Eaton, we've been there together from the start. Appreciate everything that Alex does, and then all the other administrators as well. But I'm appreciative and thankful for them.
Make your life a whole heck of a lot easier when you've got a million other things to certainly worry about. Of course, that's the Warriors, that's the coaching staff, that's the booster club and the administration. Now, a couple scrimmages in the books. It's for real on Saturday, opening up in the Fort Bank Bowl in Campbellsville. You open with North Hardin, and then again you're opening with a 6A team. So again, you're not shying away from playing up in 6A teams, and you're not shying away from the back end of that gargantuan schedule that you had last year.
Yeah. Well, the schedule's the same with the exception of North Hardin.
That's true. Yeah.
We start with North Hardin. They're going to be extremely athletic, extremely fast. They're very dangerous. They've had some great 6A teams in the past, so we got to be ready. South Warren, that's the second game. In my opinion, they'll be waiting along with Bowling Green on the West at the state title level.
Think so.
I do 100% believe they're a contender this year.
I think so. Yeah.
They're going to be really good. Belfry is Belfry. The legendary Haywood. They come to us. If you're not ready to strap it up against Belfry, they're going to beat you.
Absolutely.
And so that's a game. Mercer County, Yeast is over there. Coach Yeast, Craig Yeast, the legend football player from Kentucky. He's got it going over there. They were 9-1 last year. We're the only team to beat them.
That was it. Yeah.
And so you've got them. And then you start thinking about district play with North Laurel, who's always tough. You've got Harlan County. Don't know a whole lot what they're going to have. New coaching staff there. You've got South Laurel. Who's now Coach Hines is over there at South Laurel.
There's
so
that, yeah.
You're going to have a guy with a lot of experience that's going to try to get them going. And then, of course, Pulaski County, we know they're going to beat the good. They're always good. That's always a tough opponent. And then at the very end, we got Henry Clay. And in the middle of that's Franklin County. who is also a contender at the 4A. So our schedule's tough. We'll be battle tested.
Absolutely.
But we're excited for it. I think that's what you got to do to be playoff ready.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have never shied away from playing anybody. And again, it's basically the same schedule outside of Game 1. And North Hardy still playing in the Fort Bank Bowl, just moving to Saturday. And you talked about that district, and I talked about your gray hair, and I've got the gray hair to match you here, so I'm giving you grief. You're now the elder statesman in the district. I'm trying to make you start walking with a walker at some point.
Well, I hope that's a long time away.
I hope it is too, of course. I do as well.
But
I call that the Foley effect, oh, by the way.
Oh, is that right? Is that what you call it?
Well, I have to call it something because, look, either there are new coaches in the district or coaches are in different places. So I have to call that something. That just doesn't, that's never happened that I know of in the district. And again, your 6th season, you're the elder statesman in town and in the district as well. I swear to God, I'm trying not to make you feel old.
Well, it is unique. If you look at our district opponents, I mean, I think South Laurel's, since I arrived in 19, they're their 3rd coach. North Laurel's 3rd coach. Yeah. Harlan County's 3rd, and now Pulaski's got their 2nd. And it is new. So that's the thing with us, though. It's all new coaches in the district. So the opponents will be all new, and their schemes will be different, and we'll have to prepare differently. So it'll be a tough district, though, and I have a lot of respect for them and all the coaches and the teams in it.
Well, we had PC coach on, but before you hopped on with us, you know, PC's got a great stable of athletes. My goodness, PC is going to be absolutely legit this year. And then you talked about Johnny Hines making the move to South Laurel. You would think he is certainly going to make them a contender. And again, you mentioned North Laurel. You never ever count out North Laurel, no matter who the coach is. And then Harlan County, you just don't know with Harlan.
Right. Well, Harlan's had some great teams in the past.
That is very true.
For sure.
A lot of history.
Well, North Laurel is just a physical team always.
Oh,
and they play us well. They play us extremely well. We already mentioned Pulaski. I mean, yes, they got a great group of kids. I expected them to be much improved. And then you don't know what you're going to get with South Laurel as far as what they've got. I know they've got some good young kids, and it's going to be a battle. And we have to come and every day if we want to try to make it 6. It's going to be tough, and we know that.
Only a couple minutes left. You mentioned BG and South Warren from the West. Obviously, Cooper was early last year. It seemed like. Who do you think? 5A from North. What are you looking there?
I definitely think, on the east side, I think you're looking at Cooper. You've got Highlands. You could have somebody in our district or two that could make a run at that level. And Scott County, you can't ever forget about them.
Yeah.
Out west, you've got Owensboro, South Warren, Bowling Green, those types of teams. And Highlands, I think I already said them. But like I said, it's a competitive class. 5A is tough.
Yeah.
You look at the toughest classes from 1 to 6A. 5A is always one of the best. It's competitive, but I'll tell you this, I enjoy coaching in it because it's high-level games, big atmospheres that maybe you don't get sometimes at other levels, but the 5A is very fun.
Very true. It's going to be a great season, no doubt about it. We look forward to that, and of course, there's a certain team that we're pulling for this year to make another great run. And I mentioned it as we started. 8 straight region title game appearances, coming off a 9-4 season. It's going to be a great season of Warrior football all season long here on Lake Cumberland Sports. And Coach, I always like to say thank you for your time and all your openness with us to give us the information we need, and always there after games. And whether it's a tough loss or it's a crazy win, you're always very gracious with your time, and we always appreciate everything that you and your coaching staff do for us.
Well, I think you, Josh, and Michael, and obviously everyone from Lake Cumberland Sports, you guys do an outstanding job. The exposure we get because of this is awesome, and appreciate everything that you guys do.
Coach, good luck. Let's go do this thing on Saturday, okay?
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, good luck.
Excited.
And by the way, happy birthday to my comrade Michael Gray.